It's very exciting to be here. It's also very unbelievable. This is a film that I completed in 1988. The film had a full life at that moment. And then I thought that it's had its life. So it's thrilling that it's going to have another life. Preservation is very exciting. The restoration of films is so critical to preserving the film format and to preserving the stories we tell. The film is about calypso music and the emergence of soca. The story is told by two legends of that world, Lord Kitchener and Calypso Rose. The story begins in Brooklyn with the recording studios that were started by the West Indian American community, and it travels with the music down to Trinidad, where every year the West Indian community gathers for Carnival and the Calypso Monarch competition, and Calypsos, the whole country celebrates the festivities for a period of months. That's how the film began. I was born in India. I grew up with sitar music and tabla music in my home. And over a period of time, I discovered that people outside my home didn't know this music. So as I grew older, I started wondering, what other music is there out there that they haven't told me about? So when a West Indian friend suggested taking me to Brooklyn to hear calypso music, I was ready. When the film premiered at Telluride, it was a moment of not knowing how the audience would respond. It was fabulous to be invited to Telluride, but that's a location way up in the mountains of Colorado. I'd never heard steel drum there or heard anyone singing calypso there. And the audience responded so enthusiastically. I was very delighted. Mostly they said, "Why haven't we heard this before?" And I could only say, "That's right. Why haven't you heard this before? But I'm glad you did hear it now." This audience, I think, will be different. Times have changed. People are a little more familiar with different kinds of music. There's a large West Indian community in New York City, and they are very enthusiastic about the film because it's their culture. It's the legends of calypso music that live on through this film. Preservation is a very unique process and a unique phase in the life of a film. So when the Academy Film Archive and the Women's Film Preservation Fund got together and said, "Let's preserve your film," my first response was really, "Well, what do you mean?" And then as they explained how the preservation would fight off the deterioration that happens with any film, I got more and more excited, and I was really delighted that there were institutions and groups that wanted to preserve this particular film. A lot of the people in the film are gone. Lord Kitchener, the Grand Master of Calypso, died in 2000. Many of the people in the film are gone. Stalin died recently, last year. So it's very, very important that this cultural documentation of the contribution of West Indians to the world of music should live on for everyone to see, everyone in the world. Plans for the re-release of One Hand Don't Clap are in the works right now. We just completed the restoration process, and what a magnificent way to launch it to Save and Project. So from here on, we will be exploring other venues for screening the film at festivals and theaters for distribution of various kinds. And we're just at stage one of that. We've just completed that very, very important step of restoration, and now we move on to the next important step. I think that most people don't realize that they've heard calypso music and the music of Lionel Richie, of Harry Belafonte. It's inspired Mick Jagger. So it has been borrowed, which is fine, but listen to the real calypso. Another feature documentary that I made recently, it's called The Bengali. In it, I take an African-American woman back to India with me. India is where I was born, in search of her family's past. Her grandfather was one of the first Indians to come to America in the late 19th century. It's lost history, and her journey becomes a search for where he came from and what it might mean to her. I just came back from India, where it was shown in many cities. I took it back to the village where we filmed. So we're exploring further distribution of that film as it continues to make its way all over the world.